Hey, what's up guys, Exalted here, and right before I start the video, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the people that use my supporter creator code. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. If you guys would like a shout out in the next video, go ahead and send me a picture of you guys using my code in through Discord or through Twitter. I'd really appreciate it. On top of that, I'm actually streaming on Twitch. It is so much fun. We are doing insanely stacked customs. We had Storm Surge last night, actually 2 nights in a row, so definitely stop by. I would really appreciate it. With that being said, let's get right into the video. Hey, what's up guys, Exalted here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over what I think are the 5 best places to land when it comes to playing in scrims and the World Cup tournaments. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over kind of the pros and cons of each drop spot. I'm going to be going over the average amount of players that drop there, and I'm also going to be going over how good rotation is from that area as well as loot. So with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, hit that sub button. I would really appreciate it, and let's get right into it. Alright guys, so the first spot that I want to go over is going to be the inside of the volcano. This is an absolutely fantastic first drop, especially for solos. The second you drop in, you can get about 5 to 6 chests in a span of 30 seconds to a minute. It's really easy to loot, really quick to loot, and on top of that, you have an insane rotation ability to almost anywhere on the map. The only real downside that I have about this place is, yes, it's pretty jam-packed for loot, it's pretty much never contested by other players, but there's no materials that you can farm inside of the volcano. That does get made up for with its rotation ability, because you can rotate right next to you to bigger places like the block, or you could go to Sunny Steps, or you could just rotate to zone and go all the way over to Divot. One player that actually did really well with this drop is Ghost Bizzle. Ghost Bizzle actually landed here during the Solo World Cup qualifiers, and he indeed qualified, secured himself $50,000 and a spot in the finals for the World Cup that'll be happening this summer. So overall, this is a fantastic drop. Some really good loot. It's almost never contested, and its rotation ability is fantastic. The only downside is there are not mats the second you land. Alright guys, so for the second location, this is for the players that find themselves excelling in early game fights. If you are really good early game, you can find yourself getting some really easy kills and really easy points. This spot is Paradise Palms. This is my personal favorite landing spot, and there are several reasons why. I personally find myself pretty good at early game fights. I also know Paradise really well. If you do loot the entirety of Paradise, you will have completely maxed mats and you will have an amazing loadout. Next, you've got the rotation. There are actually rifts in Paradise. There are not very many rifts anymore, but the rifts in Paradise have a few benefits. First of all, they allow you to escape. If you find yourself in kind of a sticky situation where you get unfortunate with your guns right when you drop, or whatever the reason is, you can hit a rift, you can find another location and start looting that. Second of all, because it's so far on the outside of the map, most of the time when you're outside of the map, you have to rotate to first zone really early so that you can outrun zone. This takes away from time where you can loot and farm materials, but because of the rifts, you can sit there for as long as possible, and you can hit a rift and easily make it to the next zone, no matter how close or far it is. Next, when it comes to the player count, every once in a while you will get Paradise uncontested, but for the most part there will be about 2 to 3 players there, and once I had about 5 players there. This means that you can potentially leave Paradise with fantastic loot, fantastic mats, 4 to 5 kills, which will really help you with the points and getting you up there on the leaderboard. A pro player that is actually known for landing here that does super well is a player named Sen Aspect. Sen Aspect last week in the solo tournament actually got first place in the qualifiers. This was his main landing spot, and obviously it worked out really well, and this is why it is my personal favorite landing spot. Alright, so for drop spot number 3, it's going to have to be Viking Mountain. I really like Viking Mountain. I know it very well, and I love it for a few different reasons. There's no way that you're leaving Viking Mountain without max wood. There's plenty of wood there, and you can farm it really quickly. On top of that, it's usually not very crowded. Every once in a while you will get maybe 1 or maybe 2 other players there with you, but for the most part it's only really you and another player. It is also pretty frequent that you will drop there alone. I actually know this location really well, so I usually enjoy it when other players drop there because I can get a couple easy kills. But the problem with Viking Mountain is that there's no rotation items, so there's no rifts, there's no hoverboards, there's no quad crashers or ballers, but you can take 2 different routes on foot that can be very effective. Once you have looted Viking Mountain, which usually gives you fantastic loot, plenty of loot that you need for a scrim, you can drop down and go towards the soccer field. This is where I usually max out on metal, maybe loot it if it's not looted, clean up after the player that was previously there, or I rotate the other direction towards the southern end of the map. If you kind of go down the back of Viking Mountain, there are zip lines that'll lead over towards Frosty Flights. Now over here, if you're a player that likes ballers, you can find ballers, but there's also a lot more loot, and it allows for a really easy quick rotation to the southern part of the map. So this is why one of my favorite spots is Viking Mountain. The only really pro players that I know that ever dropped here was TSM Vinny and Zexro. That was a little while ago. It wasn't super recent, but all in all, it's got really good loot, really good early game potential, and it's got pretty decent rotation ability. The 4th spot that I want to talk about is going to be the little haunted house right outside of Pleasant Park. This has been a drop spot that I've been using for a very, very long time. It's got tons of materials. There are trees all around it, so you can get 500 mats very, very quickly. There are also a lot of brick and metal, I guess, junk piles on the ground that you can farm. On top of that, it's got mushrooms. So although this house might not have a ton of loot, there are still about 3 chests in this house and a few ground spawns to where you can usually get a pretty decent loadout considering the small space it has. If you do get very unlucky and don't find yourself with any shields, what you can do is you can actually just look around by the trees near you, and there are mushrooms all over the ground. Now, when it comes to rotation ability, you can kind of go back towards Haunted Hills if you have time, which you should because it's only one house, and you can go to those 2 houses before Haunted Hills, loot those most of the time, and grab a Quad Crasher. With the Quad Crasher, you can fly to zone, just quicken your rotation. Now, there's a couple other benefits that come with this house. It is almost never contested. If you are a terrible player when it comes to early game, this is a very good place for you because there are rarely anybody that will contest you at this house. If you do like to play a little more aggro early game, this is a really safe spot to land because it kind of mitigates the 50-50 gunfight of who's going to land on the pump, and it gives you an opportunity to loot up for about 30 seconds to a minute before you can rotate to Pleasant Park and maybe clean up kills in Pleasant and get some good loot. So all in all, I don't know any really pro players that land here, but it works out really, really well for me, and a lot of people don't know about it, so I highly suggest this if you find yourself lacking in the early game. Finally, the 5th and final drop spot that I really, really enjoy that I want to show you guys is going to be Dusty Diner. There are a few really positive things with Dusty Diner, but there's a couple things that you have to watch out for, but if you do watch out for them, you should be fine. So first of all, Dusty Diner is right in the middle of the map. This means that like 95% of the time, you will always get first circle. This is absolutely fantastic because it gives you plenty of time to loot and plenty of time to play slow and kind of calculated. Next, it's got really good rotation ability. Right next to the diner, there's a little truck with hoverboards and quad crashers. You can use these to rotate to future zones very quickly and very safely. On top of that, when you do land Dusty Diner, there are rarely any other teams there. There most of the time will be a team or two that does land Divot, but only every once in a while will you find one other team landing with you at Diner. Diner has really, really good mats. You can leave there with a lot of brick, usually maxed wood, and a ton of metal because there are meteors inside of there. There's also a vending machine right outside, and if you get lucky, maybe it'll be gold and you get an RPG or whatever it might be. So the diner has really, really good mats. It's got really, really good rotation, and it's really good because you can make a bunch of other decisions when it comes to how you want to play your early game. Once you do loot diner, you can make the decision to go down to Divot and maybe farm your final mats, or push the team that's there and hopefully get a couple early game kills. If you're feeling passive, you didn't find as much shield as you were hoping, what you can do is you can actually rotate to the cannon area. The cannon area is really good for rotation. It has a campfire there, and it's got a bunch more chests and loot. From there, you can actually find a baller, a quad crasher, and cannons to rotate to anywhere you want on the map, and overall, Dusty Diner is one of my favorite spots to land as it's super safe, the rotation is absolutely fantastic, and you can play your early game almost however you want. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely hit that sub button. It would mean a lot to me. I'm getting really close to 100,000 subscribers. Also, I am live streaming on Twitch almost every single day, so definitely stop by. It would be really enjoyable to talk to you. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.